Hi, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Amala Epinovi, and today we have much to discuss. We're going to be talking all things election this week. Many things are changing as Trump has been announced to be the 47th president of the United States. People are freaking out. Policies are being changed. We're going to be talking about all that. Plus, the Democrats don't seem to have learned their lesson. There's a lot of things that they are blaming when it comes to this loss, and none of them seem to be themselves. So we're going to be discussing that. I also have to announce it is just me on the show today. No Taylor.
Oh, tomato,
yes,
tomato.
I know, tragic. It's just going to be us hanging out. Taylor's at a wedding today with his beloved. So let's get into some news stories here. Now, number one, we have this out of the Trump campaign and really the Trump administration at this point. J.D. Vance says, this is great news. Susie was a huge asset to Donald Trump on the campaign and will be a huge asset in the White House. She's also just a really good person onward. And this is in reference to Susan Summerall Wiles, who was working on the Trump campaign and really led the Trump campaign, structured the Trump campaign. She's now going to be the White House Chief of Staff. She will actually be the first woman to take on this position, which is really interesting because for so long we've been told that Trump is a misogynist. So now we have the first woman to ever take on this position as Chief of Staff. Now, I have to look into Susie Wiles. I don't know very much about her and her background. I know she's been in the game for quite some time. She was part of the Reagan administration and was functioning very closely with all that was going on at that time. But I'm hearing mixed reviews of her and who she is and how she's going to be in this position as Chief of Staff. So I can't really speak to it at this point. But I do find it really interesting that for so long we've been told that this guy hates women. He's going to be getting rid of women's rights. He's launching an attack on women. Everybody who voted for him hates women. And now he's doing something historic in having a woman take on this position for the very first time ever. Interesting. Oh, how the turntables. And are you going to hear women talk about this? At least women who did not vote for Donald Trump, women who hate Donald Trump? Probably not. I think it's going to be crickets. I don't think we're ever going to have them come back and say, well, wait a second, I should rethink my position of labeling him as a misogynist, because that never is the case. But I guess people are really revving up here for a Trump administration. They're making changes all over the place. We have this video out of New York City, and the news is covering this. The New York City mayor has actually announced that he's ending this food program that was given to illegal migrants in New York City that essentially gave them a voucher every week to pay for food for themselves and their families. And you have to wonder, do people sort of know what's happening with this administration, what's coming for them, and they're just preparing for the inevitable, that a lot of these policies are going to be rolled back? In fact, these policies being rolled back is a large reason why Donald Trump won this election in the first place, although Democrats are having a very hard time reconciling that, realizing it, that the reason that people put Donald Trump in power is that they want policies like this to go away. So it seems like some people are getting ahead of themselves. Let's watch.
News: the mayor just announced that the city will no longer issue vouchers to migrants to pay for food, ending a controversial program that had repeatedly come under attack by conservatives and others.
This pilot program in New York City, drenched in both humanity and controversy, distributed debit cards to migrant families staying in city-funded hotels and allowing them to buy their own food. Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einiger following the breaking news for us. Josh?
Well, Bill, it's a program that, as you say, generated plenty of controversy, but now its absence may raise even more questions. The so-called Immediate Response Cards pilot program was designed to help feed migrant families who'd found themselves in New York with no way to afford food. The one-year contract provided what the city described as culturally relevant food to 2,600 migrant families, allowing them to basically buy what they wanted. A family of four with two kids under 5 got about $350 per week to cover food in a program the city said would actually save taxpayers millions a year. It also reduced food waste. You may remember the food the city had been providing in migrant shelters was seen as not culturally sensitive to the needs of some migrant groups, and it ended up just going to waste. For more than a year, the city was groaning under the weight of more than 200,000 asylum seekers. Officials say the migrant population has actually reduced lately. In fact, a massive shelter on Roosevelt Island is in the process of closing. In the meantime, Mayor Adams spoke on the phone yesterday with President-elect Donald Trump, who had vowed during his campaign to mass deport migrants. Aside from congratulating him on his win, though, Adams today would not say what they discussed.
Okay, did y'all hear that? Things are changing. Things are changing, no doubt. That's absolutely wild. What's even more wild is sort of what lies underneath this story, that the reason that these vouchers and payments existed in the first place is that migrants were coming into this country illegally, going to the different shelters and soup kitchens and food sources that they could get within the city of New York that were made, essentially just for them. And they were showing up and complaining that the foods were not culturally sensitive. Be so for real right now. The audacity, the gall that it takes to enter a country illegally, show up for free food from that country's government, which is paid for with your tax dollars, and then say this food is not culturally sensitive for me and I don't want to partake in it. So instead, I want money from your government, also with your tax dollars, every single week to pay for the food so that I can get food that I actually want to eat in the country that I've entered illegally. It's no wonder we saw what we saw on election day, because you have to be so serious with me. I cannot believe that this is the logic that has guided these policies for so long. And $350 a week is no joke. That's no joke. $1,400 a month for your food, for you and your family, after you entered this country illegally? That's insane. So now this is being rolled back, done away with. I'm curious to see what else gets done away with, because we've seen a lot of stories like this where migrants enter the country. They are then bused, planed, trained wherever it is that they want to go, and brought to some of our major cities, New York being one of those cities. And not only is the plane ticket and the transportation paid for by your government, then they're being placed in apartments and housing. And a lot of people say, once we go through with some of this moving around, some of these deportations, we're going to do a lot better as far as the housing crisis that we're facing in this country. So that's housing paid for by you. I believe in New York City, it was 7 months worth of rent that was completely paid for a lot of these migrants who had entered the country. Then you have the food vouchers, $350 a week for those with families. I'm not sure what it was for single individuals or just, 2 people, but $350 for a family. Some of these people were getting phones paid for on top of all of this, not to mention the medical care that goes into entering this country if you need it. And there's more on top of that. There's like SNAP and EBT, all of these things were circulating. I'm curious just how much we've spent in this realm and on these individuals. And we know that it's quite a lot. I think when Trump proposed his border wall, he was asking for like 5.7 billion? And then we spent over 100 billion. We've covered it in another video. You guys can check that out. I won't continue harping on it. You know my stance on it. But it is interesting that the New York City mayor is maybe feeling a little bit of tension when it comes to these things and going, you know what, if Trump is going to be president come January, we might as well start making some changes now. We might as well start moving things now. Now, some other news. Trump apparently has announced that he's pushing for term limits for members of Congress, and this is music to my ears. Nothing better happened to this man between now and his inauguration. That's what I'm saying. They need to put him in a bunker. He's on lockdown. He's not to be seen in the public because we all know all these different assassination attempts that he's gone through. They didn't just unearth this, but more information now is coming out about an Iranian plot to assassinate Donald Trump that they were putting together here in the United States, and had several people in on this plan while somebody was pulling the strings back in Iran. So this man needs to keep it under wraps. And we all know why that was happening. It's because our U.S. government is funding all of these different wars that are taking place from both sides. So it is not within their best interest that Donald Trump becomes president of the United States. And it's certainly not in the best interest of a lot of these members of Congress, because now he's pushing for term limits, which means you can't just stay in our government system for decades upon decades and just gluttonously making money off of your insider trading, which a lot of them are doing. And you can see where the motivation lies for a lot of these people. It's not necessarily for the public good or for public service. They know if I get a seat, I'm gonna sit my ass down and I'm gonna make a whole lot of money. They enter these positions broke and then they're coming out multimillionaires. And I'm looking at you, Nancy Pelosi. I'm looking at you and Paul. I know how much money you've made in these positions where you're meant to be serving the public. So now he's saying, term limits. And I'm all for it. I can't wait for this to happen. And I hope it takes place expeditiously when he is president of the United States. Now, Trump has come out with a video of other things, other intentions that he has in this second term. And honestly, babe, I think it's going to be balls to the wall. This is his last term. It looks like it's going to be completely under Republican control. So he can really just kind of go for it and get a lot of these things done that, mind you, are going to be beneficial for both parties. If you're an American right now and you're freaking out and you're crying and you're filming your meltdown and you're posting it on TikTok and you're thinking you're going to lose rights, trust. When Trump is president and he unearths all that's been going on in the name of saving our democracy, I guess is what they say, and keeping people safe and creating safe spaces, I think the entire world is going to be shocked. It's not just going to be Republicans and Democrats. It's going to be the entire United States. It will be the whole world that is just blown away, flabbergasted, if you will, dumbfounded by what has been going on behind the scenes with some of our government agencies and just the colluding with things like big tech. Anyways, I'll allow Donald Trump to speak for himself here. Let's watch.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple just like dominoes, one by one. They'll go down. That's why today I'm announcing my plan to shatter the left-wing censorship regime and to reclaim the right to free speech for all Americans. And reclaim is a very important word in this case because they've taken it away. In recent weeks, bombshell reports have confirmed that a sinister group of deep state bureaucrats, Silicon Valley tyrants, left-wing activists, and depraved corporate news media have been conspiring to manipulate and silence the American people. They have collaborated to suppress vital information on everything from elections to public health. The censorship cartel must be dismantled and destroyed, and it must happen immediately. And here's my plan.
And let's pause before he gets into his plan. We've all heard the whispers of this happening, in some cases outright admissions. If you haven't seen Mark Zuckerberg go on the Joe Rogan podcast, he gets into detail about how the FBI reached out to him and essentially said, this Hunter Biden laptop story is about to be circulating. We need you to shut that down for at least a few days. We need you to throttle that story, make sure that nobody is getting hold of it, that it's not circulating to the degree at which we know it would circulate if the public had access to it. So we heard that. The Twitter files, which everybody went through Twitter and figured out what was happening in regard to censorship and their ability to sort of force feed certain stories and dial back others. You can go and check those out. It's a large part of the reason that Elon Musk got involved and that Twitter is now X. And I can only imagine what would have happened if Kamala Harris became president or won this election instead of Donald Trump. We had already heard from her campaign the plans in regard to free speech, where she said, we're going to go after misinformation, which we all know is just information that we don't like. Just anybody who has an opinion other than the one that we hold, that's misinformation. She also said they're going to go after hate speech, which is, again, just words that we don't like and words that make us feel upset. And, F everybody else. That's what they feel about hate speech. And once they've gotten control, I can only imagine they would have gone after Elon Musk and tried to get him for something. in regard to buying X or some other part of his life, so that they could shut down the pathway that Americans have with their free speech on that platform to more information about what they've been doing and doing now for a very long time. And when we called this the year of exposure, we were not kidding. And I think 2025, assuming all goes well and smoothly, is going to be something even crazier. Noxious of, what does it say? Incoronate? I don't know. Sorry about that. Sends a $50 super chat with no message. Thank you so much for your super chat. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you for supporting the show. We're going to let Trump get back into his plan.
First, within hours of my inauguration, I will sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any organization, business, or person to censor, limit, categorize, or impede the lawful speech of American citizens.
Ooh, and that's on the FBI and the CIA. I know you heard it.
I will then ban federal money from being used to label domestic speech as mis- or disinformation. And I will begin the process of identifying and firing every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship, directly or indirectly, whether they are the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Health, Human Services, the FBI, the DOJ, no matter who they are. Second, I will order the Department of Justice to investigate all parties involved in the new online censorship regime, which is absolutely destructive and terrible, and to aggressively prosecute any and all crimes identified. These include possible violations of federal civil rights law, campaign finance laws, federal election law, securities law, and antitrust laws, the Hatch Act, and a host of other potential criminal, civil, regulatory, and constitutional offenses. To assist in these efforts, I am urging House Republicans to immediately send preservation letters, and we have to do this right now, to the Biden administration, the Biden campaign, and every Silicon Valley tech giant, ordering them not to destroy evidence of censorship.
Boy, I know them people are quaking. I know they're quaking in their boots right now. If anybody has contributed to this complete just disenfranchisement of American citizens when it comes to free speech, I know they're sweating. And so many more people are going to have a really tough time on the other end of this. This whole big food thing with RFK and Make America Healthy Again, and these people who have literally been poisoning you through their food, through your food, they're sweating. They're crying. They're throwing up. The big pharma CEOs, they're all having meetings with one another. They're frantically trying to engage with one another and plan for what a Trump administration looks like. They're screaming, they're crying, they're throwing up. I cannot wait to see what happens on the other end of this. You guys are saying Peanut. I bet the people who killed Peanut are screaming and crying and throwing up too. Oh my gosh, there will be retribution for that squirrel and the raccoon. I'm sorry, we always forget the raccoon. I don't remember what the raccoon's name is. But yeah, this is going to be a very interesting time, I tell you that. Now, you can go watch the rest of that video from Trump. It's all over X. People have detailed his entire plan and all the different points that he makes there. But just the layout for you guys. We also have this in the news. Hamas calls for an immediate end to war after Trump election win. You know, it just goes to show you what powerful leadership does. And we spoke about this in regard to Kamala Harris quite a bit. Just the vibe. It's honestly just the vibes. The vibes that you give off are not very intimidating. She's not very forceful. She doesn't exude strength by any stretch of the imagination. So we did a thought experiment where we imagined Kamala Harris walking into a room full of world leaders. Imagine her talking to Kim Jong-un. Imagine her talking to Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping. I can't, honestly. I can't. You don't get a teleprompter in those rooms. You're sitting with them, you're face to face, and you have to exude strength. And that doesn't mean you can't have, a certain softness to you. It just means when you mean business, you mean business. And we heard stories of Donald Trump in his first term, meeting with Taliban leaders. And when he walked into that room, he handed them, a screening of their house. They said, this is your house. They said, how'd you get this image? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Walk away. Okay. Can you imagine Kamala Harris doing that? Can you imagine Kamala Harris handing a Taliban leader a photo of their house and walking away from them? You think this just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist within the context of all in which you live and all that came before you. I can't picture it, guys. Or maybe it is that I'm picturing it a little bit too vividly and the image is not good. The image is not good. I was talking to my boyfriend recently. That you exist in the context of all in which you live and all of which came before you is actually a pretty profound statement. I believe Kamala Harris in that initial quote says that came from her mother. Her mother was onto something, but I just know, I can hear it in Kamala's voice when she's saying the quote over again, that she doesn't even understand what she's saying when she's saying it. And I believe that to be true at least half the time when this woman is speaking. Noctis, oh my gosh, you guys have some interesting. Phantom Hive says, love your channel. Keep up the good fight. We are keeping up the good fight. The fight does not end now. We mustn't get complacent. There's a lot of things we got to do on the other end of this, even though we just sit back and things are being done for us. Guys, this is crazy. It just shows you what can happen when people feel like strength is going to return to the United States of America, to the U.S. of A. Now, here's a video from the EU. And they're talking about buying oil from America now and switching that up. Let's hear it.
I would not say discuss, but we touched upon yesterday. It's the whole topic of LNG. We still get a lot of LNG via Russia, from Russia. And why not replace it by American LNG, which is cheaper for us and brings down our energy prices, but is something where we can get into a discussion. Also what our trade deficit is concerned. So engage, look at common interest, and then negotiate.
Guys, and we got conflicting stories from Kamala Harris, right? She at one point said, of course I'm going to ban fracking. That is my plan. Of course, I am going to ban fracking. Then she would hit the debate stage or an interview. And when asked about whether or not she was willing to frack on American soil, she'd say, oh, yes, I'm not going to get rid of fracking. I never said that I was going to get rid of fracking. And the Trump campaign said, frack, frack, frack. We are going to bring back America's strength when it comes to energy and hopefully energy independence. And now you have the leader of the EU saying, yeah, we're going to buy from America instead of Russia. Like I said, they're quaking in their boots. They're going to be quaking in their boots, y'all. So while all these good things are happening in the background, people are freaking out in the foreground. These leftists cannot stomach the fact that Trump is going to be president, and they cannot stomach the fact that he won the popular vote. And there's a lot of Americans of all different demographics who voted for this man and wanted to see him in leadership. And they're making some pretty crazy videos online. Videos that I don't think you should be posting online. In fact, I think you can call the FBI when you see videos like this sometimes. Not this next one, but we'll get to some crazier ones down the line. This guy says if you're a Trump supporter, he wants you to yourself, which is so nice, so sweet, so demure, so mindful. And he happens to be an administrator at the University of Oregon. These people don't think about the two very important words when you're on the internet, and that is digital and footprint. Your digital footprint is going to exist, and people are going to have things to say about the things that you say. But let's roll the clip.
I'm done crying. My sadness is over. My anger has set in. I am a very petty person, and I am very proud of that. Love it about myself, actually. And so I say this in the most disrespectful way possible. I don't care if you are my family. I don't care if you are my friend. I don't care if we've been friends our entire lives. you can literally go fuck yourself if you voted for Donald Trump. If you are so sad about your groceries being expensive, get a better fucking paying job. Do better in life. Get a fucking education. Do something. Because you are fucking stupid. And I hope you go jump off of a fucking bridge.
Shiver me timbers. I'm clutching my pearls hearing that. My goodness. It's so interesting because this was the party of tolerance. It was the party of the impoverished. It was the party of the underprivileged, the disenfranchised. And now they're telling you if you voted for Donald Trump because you want to see your grocery prices change or you want to go to get gas and not be crying as you are, putting things in your gas tank, now they're saying you're broke. They're like, hey, brokey, that's why you voted for Donald Trump. That is so crazy. I thought you were the party that spoke for the impoverished, that wanted to talk about evening the playing field when it came to things like grocery prices and the price of eggs and milk and the price of gas. I guess no longer. I guess that's not a valid concern for Americans anymore. And instead of being worried about your day-to-day life, the economy that you're living in, the economy that you will hand to your children, the American dream sort of being blown away in the wind, you should be worried about, I don't know, like pronouns, sex changes, identity politics, opening the border further than it already is. I just think they've really lost the plot when it comes to what is important to people, what they're looking for in terms of change, what they're looking for in terms of leadership. And I mean, there's no other way to tell you that you've lost the plot than what you saw, the results out of this election. I mean, he swept the floor with her, and still the response is, if you voted for him, just yourself, which would be the majority of the country. As we said, he won the popular vote. But we do got to check back in on this story, as he is an administrator at the University of Oregon. Since he told you guys to yourselves, he's been placed on leave. Oops. The tweet says, yeah, oops. The things you say sometimes have consequences. And I'm pretty much a free speech absolutist. But I mean, telling people to kill themselves, what do you think is going to happen when you're the administrator at a school that probably has somewhat of a pluralistic vision about its staff and its students? And there's going to be a lot of Trump supporters, presumably, who are at the University of Oregon, and you've told them to kill themselves. I don't know that you can really be trusted as an administrator over those students, so now you're on leave. Womp, womp. That is the way the cookie crumbles, I think, on this one. But wait, there's more. We've already spoken about many an assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life, many a plot that has been foiled and foiled. And here's a girl who's now calling for his assassination.
There is a highly trained professional assassin out there right now, and you have one job. Chop, chop, bitch. There is a highly trained
You're crazy. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't have many other words for that. It's a crazy thing to say after losing an election. It's really not that deep, sis. It's really not that crazy. The person that you don't like, they won, and that's okay. The world is going to keep turning. We're all going to be here living with one another. We don't have to call for somebody to be assassinated. And of course, a lot of people have been sharing photos of the men that have already attempted to assassinate Donald Trump. And they're saying you had one job, you shouldn't have missed. They're saying things like Ethel Cain wouldn't have missed if given the opportunity to assassinate Donald Trump. And part of me is thinking, you're kind of deranged. I don't know what to tell you. This is crazy. Open the asylums. Part of me is saying that. The other part of me is thinking, what information have you been given that makes you feel this way? And I'm understanding of it, of course, because for a long time, I can answer the question. The information that they've been given is that he's a threat to democracy, that he is the new Hitler, I guess, and if he makes it into office, everybody is going to lose their rights, and on top of that, lose their lives. So I can get why people feel this way. But you would think there'd be just one like piece of rationality that would urge you to, one, if you think these things, just keep it to yourself and not post it on the internet. But also, if you're thinking these things, think about how much of an irrational thought it actually is, and figure out if we can unpack that a little bit further, maybe look at some information to the contrary of what it is that we believe, and see if we can untangle that thought and maybe get rid of it, because it is an irrational one. But people don't see it as that, and they're in fact being applauded for saying these kinds of things. We have another video from a young man this time. Let's see what he has to say.
If you voted for Donald Trump, you're racist, you're a fascist, you're a Nazi, you hate America, you hate women, you hate democracy. I'm sorry for your mom. It is evident that a Trump supporter has never read a book, probably doesn't have that comprehension, has never written a coherent sentence ever. Do not waste your breath on these people. Anytime that you're talking to a Donald Trump
he says as he's literally wasting his breath on these people.
Supporter, just call him a Nazi, call him a fascist, keep it moving. These people are beyond the right of education. When you choose to get misinformation, you choose to eat that shit up, when you choose not to look deeper, that is on you. That is not on us. Because I chose to take the extra step.
The call is coming from inside the house. The call is coming from inside the house. Pick up, please.
To not get lied to, but you were warmed by the ignorance. Why do I have to take you out of that? No. I do not accept you. I do not see you. I do not believe that you, as a person, deserve any of my respect. Okay? You don't support basic human rights if you're a Trump supporter, so why would I support your rights? Okay? That's the fucking thing. Trump supporters are the equivalent to dirt to me. I would spit on you, but I would not waste the DNA on someone like that. That's the fucking thing. I'd strangle you guys to fucking death, but I wouldn't go to prison over a Trump supporter. That's the fucking thing. Okay? It's no longer this neutral ground, this place where we don't judge people for their politics, and it's just like melting pot.
Yeah, no kidding.
You Republican, you voting Republican, I fucking hate you. And I think you're a racist. I know you're a racist. I know you're a pedophile. I know that you're a Nazi, a fascist. I don't care. I can make a list. Okay? Because it's beyond it. It's beyond it now. Okay? There is no wishy-washy Republican. If you're Republican, you're a fascist Nazi. Because you support Trump. And that party, they don't give a fuck about ideals, morals, who they're fucking propping up. They only care about winning and taking power in this country. And how can you guys not see that? But that's the fucking thing. That's the fucking thing. Is you guys probably do see it, and you just accept it. But again, to the day I die, it's fuck Donald Trump. To the day I die, it's fuck Republicans. They are ruining America, and I'm not letting that happen. We the people, we the Democrats, will not let that fucking happen. I'm not taking this shit sitting down. Fuck Donald Trump.
Wow. That was a beautiful, stunning, brave message. And you know what? The messaging that he shared in this video is only going to lead to the furthering of the Republican message and Republican power, I would believe, in this country, because a lot of the reason why people have voted for Donald Trump is due to rhetoric like this. And instead of learning the lesson, taking the L in this election and understanding that we've done something wrong, and people are realizing that we've done something wrong, and even those among us who would have called themselves Democrats are leaving our party to vote for Donald Trump, instead of just recognizing that. It just goes over the head, and they start blaming you and calling you a fascist, Nazi, white supremacist. I don't know how that works with how diverse the Republican Party is currently, and how open the Republican Party is to people who don't even identify as Republican at this point. And that's a major reason why Trump won this election. If you look at the exit polls in regard to independents that swung over and voted for Trump, Democrats that swung over and voted for Trump, I mean, the numbers are stark. So I just don't understand how you can't learn the lesson here. And it's the self-righteousness maybe and the narcissism that is so often coupled with this ideology that maybe leads to the brick wall that stops them from understanding these things. But my goodness, do you need to smash that wall down and come to the realization, because the Democrats truly have a thing to learn from this and a thing to move forward with when it comes to this. And they could really gain more ground if they just open their ears and listen to what people are saying and listen to people when they tell them this is why I voted for Donald Trump, but instead they can't do that. They exile and exclude them and tell them that they're fascists for voting for him. It's really sad. It's really tragic. Brock GN2 says, Brett Cooper did a why I voted for Trump, and that I hope you do one too. It crosses the aisle. You have a great and rational delivery that can reach sane liberals that have only been lied to and are open to the truth. Yeah, I'm like, I'll consider it. I think it's worth talking about, at least at length, and giving every single bullet pointed reason why I've made this choice. And hopefully you guys have understood some of that in this show and in us talking about what's happened in this election, because whoo-wee, does it continue to get crazier, man? I don't know. We're going to talk about a celebrity that is now getting canceled on the other end of just alluding to the support of Donald Trump. And it is Nicole Scherzinger. You know her as a singer. I think she's done a little bit of acting. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. She's on her musical theater bend right now and really has been throughout the duration of her career. I believe she's currently in Sunset Boulevard. That is on Broadway. She was part of the Pussycat Dolls, if you're into that sort of music. A little bit of a throwback, and she did this. This is really the story. It doesn't go much deeper than this. Russell Brand posted this photo that says, "Make Jesus first again," and she commented under it and said, "Where do I get this hat?" That is the sin that Nicole Scherzinger committed, and people screenshotted that, of course. It started circulating all over the internet. How dare you comment that you want this hat, which is not even necessarily a Trump endorsement, but we'll get into some of her other social media activity because the hat says "Make Jesus First Again." So it's kind of part of it. It's not exactly. Now, in the past, she's liked posts on Robert F. Kennedy's page. Here is the evidence of that. Nicole Scherzinger liked that. And it says, "Yes, Russell Brand, Tucker Carlson, I will restore free speech, end the forever wars, and protect children's health once we get real Donald Trump back in the White House." So she liked that. Kind of tells you all you need to know as far as where her support lies. But no. You cannot be someone within Hollywood that endorses these things. Even in the minute way of just liking an Instagram post, we all saw other people make this mistake. Brittany Mahomes, Pat Mahomes' wife, ended up liking one of Trump's policy posts on Instagram and was getting the heat for weeks and weeks and weeks. How dare you like one of his Instagram posts? You're disgusting. You're racist. I am leaving you. I'm no longer a fan. So Nicole Scherzinger's getting that very same energy. I'll read you some of the responses she's getting after doing this. Here's one that was posted to an IG story. "I shouldn't have to justify my sentiment, but I'm going to do it for the sake of rationality. Nicole Scherzinger's career has been kept alive and afloat almost exclusively via the pockets of her LGBTQIA plus fans for the last 15 years when nobody else wanted to see her or hear her. Now this election comes around and she votes for the power that threatens to rob us blindly of all our freedoms and our progress. This is betrayal, so let me say it again. Fuck you, Nicole Scherzinger, and I hope all the momentum you've gained from Sunset Boulevard musical exits the room like a wet fart," they say. Anybody else I need to unfollow or call out? We're not playing games this time around. You cannot reap the benefits of our community if you are going to vote against us. Period. Okay, interesting. Now, this is the problem that I have. You all know me. I'm a musical theater nerd through and through, and I've largely, I'll admire from afar because clearly the politics that inform some of the beautiful creations that come out of musical theater are tainted in so many ways. And it's okay to have left-leaning ideology and to support the LGBTQ plus stuff if that's your thing, but to do so at the exclusion of people who may or may not disagree with you is just a whole nother beast. And I've seen this happen over and over, time and time again. And the general community, the general environment that exists within musical theater. I can't even call it a community because it's not sharing of anything. It's just actresses and actors have to hide what it is, what their true opinions are. We know that to be true in Hollywood, and of course it's true in the whole Broadway circus and circuit. So Nicole Scherzinger is really going out on a limb here, liking stuff, and is sort of making the decision that if my career takes a hit on the other end of this, so be it. And there's something kind of brave about that, given she knows the environment that she exists in. Now, there's plenty of LGBTQIA plus people that also support Donald Trump. I don't know what they have to say about that. I guess they're traitors to their sexuality and gender identity, and they're no longer a part of the group either. But my goodness, just give it a rest. Give it a rest. I mean, conservatives all the time are supporting artists and creators that do not share their political beliefs whatsoever, do not share their worldview whatsoever. And if we didn't do that, we would never consume a piece of entertainment like virtually at all, because we're not welcome in these spaces, and we're certainly not going far in these spaces when being vocal about it. Essentially, to be a conservative within Hollywood and entertainment is to have to create your own industry, which is happening slowly but surely, and we're waiting for people to sort of make their mark in that. But my goodness, we managed to do it. Why can't you? And it's because instead of viewing it as a difference of opinion, I'm seeing this all over the place now, it's not a difference of political opinion, it's a difference of morality. It's a difference of humanity. Please, give me a break. Let's read a few more responses to Nicole Scherzinger. This one says, Nicole Scherzinger really thought it was a great idea to come out as a Trump supporter when she's literally on the verge of a Tony nomination. Broadway is run by gay and trans people. After a flop attempt of a solo career, she finally found her niche and ruins it. And this is exactly what Hollywood and entertainment in general is. It is not people being rewarded for their talent, although it does happen, but it has to be talent with shared political pandering. It has to be that. For if you step out of line and you don't toe the line of their ideology, they will out you so hard, and they will not reward you for your talent, even if they've deemed that you deserve the reward. So she's being considered in this category now because she's come out and said what she truly thinks. Not really. She's liked a few Instagram posts. She's being ousted. She's being thrown to the side. Someone says, let's be honest, there was always something off about Nicole Scherzinger. Guys, you can't win. You can't win for losing. You cannot win for losing with these people. Nicole Scherzinger, thank you for being open in the way that you were, in making a comment on Instagram, liking a post here and there. We need more people within Hollywood to do that. So many more exist with that political leaning. So many more exist with these opinions. They just don't feel comfortable coming forward. I live in LA. I meet many an actress and actor who are within Hollywood or wanting to get within Hollywood or musical theater, and they are silent, hushed tones about what it is they truly believe, because they know coming out with it and coming forward is to risk their entire career, or even a career they don't even have yet, a career that they aspire to. And the more that we see top stars come forward and be honest, the better things are going to be. People just need to take the leap. And unfortunately, sometimes it includes taking a hit to your career for the sake of being who you actually are. And it's necessary. And there's many more within the musical theater community, I have to say. As a musical theater nerd, there's many more who share these beliefs. But there's a case to be made that the musical theater community is worse than Hollywood itself when it comes to punishing people for having the wrong opinion. I've seen it, I've witnessed it, you can feel it within that group of people, that if you have any opinion that steps outside of the box that they've created for you, you are done for. And I say this to somebody who's so interested in musical theater. I wanted to go to New York for college and major in theater and test it out or whatever. But as soon as you realize just how much the leftism exists within there, and just no room for anything dissident to it, you'll turn back around and go work on something else. You absolutely will. And an alternative needs to be created. I don't know if there's musical theater out there, musical theater people out there who also happen to be conservative. We need to get working on it. I need to hit up Zachary Levi, and we need to start our own version of Broadway, or start running shows that allow for freedom of thought. And it doesn't have to be a conservative version of it. It can be just a wide open, all accepting version of theater, because there's got to be so many more talented people who are just not willing to push down who they are and their values to engage with this and to be a part of it. So it's unfortunate. I hope Nicole Scherzinger is fine on the other end of this, and I hope she does get her Tony nomination, and I hope she wins the damn Tony. But knowing how people are, especially within that industry, I do not see it happening. And, you know, with everything that's going on, with the major L that the left took in this election, you would think maybe it's time to look internally and learn some lessons. The American people are screaming at you that your messaging is not working for them anymore. Your plans are not working for them anymore. Your policy is not working for them anymore. The issues that you are focusing on are not working for them anymore. And instead of taking a look internally, a lot of them are refusing to learn the lessons. And we have some crazy examples of that we are going to go through today. A New York Times columnist was on a show, and she stated what she's learned from this Democratic loss is that they need to actually double down on identity politics. I am not joking. She wants to double down on identity politics.
You wrote a piece in the Times just today, and you said, it is time for us to accept that American politics is identity politics. Tell us what you meant by that.
I meant that we have spent a lot of time, and by we, again, I mean myself, people in the media, I think academics, researchers, and politicians certainly have spent a lot of time saying that identity politics is dangerous, or at least it's murky, right? This is why we said Occupy was a distraction for the Democrats. Black Lives Matter was a distraction for the Democrats, right? The feminist movement is a distraction for the Democrats because they won't focus on real issues that matter to real Americans, right? The problem with that is that you assume that the only people with an identity are women and people of color. But as Donald Trump has proven, what he has proven and the way he has won has proven is that every voter has an identity. Every voter has an identity, and he tapped into one of the most powerful of American identities. He tapped into white identity. Right? And he said, you don't need to be ashamed of this identity. I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to make you feel good about it, and you don't have to sacrifice a thing. Donald Trump played identity politics like a fiddle. So when you say that the Democrats lose because we play identity politics, it simply isn't true. This is about whose identities win when you appeal to them. That means you should double down on the identities of your base. You should go out to them, something I think Democrats really only did cosmetically this time, but to take seriously what the members of your base want based on who they are and how they view themselves. I think if we did that, we would have understood why young men are anxious. I think we would have understood why young women could, yes, be afraid of a post-Dobbs America, but not think that the woman president would help them, right? I think that if you appeal more directly, actually, to people's identities, how they see their identities, then you could play the game that Trump has played, but without all of the nefarious, self-serving self-aggrandizement.
Oh, goodness gracious. Oh my gosh. Talk about the lesson just flying over your head. This is not even in one ear, out the other. It never came through the ears. It just never came through the ears on this one. Instead of learning that identity politics is not the way, and that this election has been a rejection, an outright rejection of identity politics, they say we must double down on identity politics. And what's even crazier is that she said what Trump has proved in this election is that there are other identities. You needed proof that other identities exist outside of Black people and women? You needed somebody to prove that to you? That's crazy. Okay, well, but sure, Trump proved that. So now we're just going to lean into identity politics even further. No, I think what you need to do is realize that a whole bunch of different identities came together to support Donald Trump because values matter more than these superficial identity characteristics. They matter more than your skin color or your sexual orientation or your pronouns, and people are screaming that at you. wanting you to recognize it, wanting you to move in the other direction. And now you're saying we must lean further into identity politics in order to reach these people. Try it. Every time I listen to somebody speak from the left, there's a few people who are understanding it. But outside of those few people, they're further entrenching themselves in the ideas that made them lose this election in the first place. And if they continue in this way, it's going to be Democrat L, Republican W for I don't even know how long. People are telling you, leave this behind. You don't need to focus further on these identities. You need to understand the shared values and the shared concerns that led people to support Donald Trump, which largely have nothing to do with their identity or the category that they find themselves in. And the fact that you needed this to prove that other identities exist is deeply concerning. We're going to respond to some super chats real quick. Patrick McCoon says, former insufferable here, partially red-pilled, and I'm looking forward to the next 4 years. The deranged are going to have to take a road trip for their reproductive health. Other than that, we are all about to benefit greatly from Unity Party. I mean, I don't even know that many women are going to have to take a road trip for reproductive health, to be honest. I mean, now that states control these things, the majority of Americans support pro-choice policy and legislation. So I think a lot of women aren't going to have to really take a road trip here. Mackenzie P says, wet farts linger. So anyway, love you guys. I used to hate Trump, but I learned and changed. Thanks for having great content. Yeah, and I don't even necessarily say this as somebody who's like 100%, I love Donald Trump. There's certainly things about him that I'm not a fan of, or I think that we could do better when it comes to a president and leadership, but definitely going to do so much better than whatever Kamala Harris was going to do. So I'm very excited to see where he goes and what he does. Now, we're going to get into some more clips of people not learning the lesson. This next one comes from CNN.
If you look at the arc of the Biden presidency, he was in really good shape until August of 2021. When Afghanistan happened, he went under 40, she went under 40, and they really lived there until the end of the He's still there.
Why? Look, I'll tell you
because
why.
Because he ran and told us that the adults were back in charge, and that was the opposite.
Yeah, they
of
were
that.
because
and
Donald Trump was a child.
And you know what else?
Yeah.
And you know what else?
He's
the fact that they wouldn't give these 13 service members' families the time of
bullshit,
day.
Dude.
The time of day.
I'm sorry, but Donald Trump hates veterans. He called them suckers and losers.
We know we know that's been debunked, like, I don't know how many times at this point. And also, whoa, you're mad. You're mad. Let's take a deep breath.
Absolutely, despite he has his whole life. He has his entire life.
I know you're super emotional. I just...
Of course I am. I'm terrified.
I'm telling you, the political reality is that when they made that decision...
It doesn't matter. When you don't admit that Donald Trump hates veterans. You don't admit it. You deny a man, Chief John Kelly, a Marine. You say he lied.
You're still campaigning.
You say he lied. It's not over. It'll never be over.
I want to hear what Cole
It'll never be over. You wish.
The political reality is when they made that decision and everyone realized, oh my gosh, these aren't the competent adults that we were promised.
Donald Trump is.
And then when you pile on top of it the decisions that made inflation worse, it was a compounding interest of political crap over time that they could never get out of, and that's how she lost the race.
There was a bipartisan consensus to get out of Afghanistan. That wasn't the point. It was the way it was
Trump's
done.
Decision to get out
hold on. It was the implementation. It was the fact that they took out our soldiers first instead of last, which is you would think would be common sense. And again, it's like you said, we thought the adults were in the room. That's why people voted for Biden. A return to normalcy, a return to competence. He's a lifelong public servant. We thought we're going to get normal, we're going to get competent. And that's what
we did. We did. And if in the veterans community,
Afghanistan doesn't signal that.
Afghanistan. The wars in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq, the Republican policies that led to those wars, the idea that Joe Biden made the final difficult decision, and his administration and his military leaders. I mean, you guys live on the tippy top of bullshit mountain. If you actually think that so many people think that the pullout of Afghanistan was the pivot point, are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, I can read a chart and I can read a poll. I guess you can't. But the reality is when he made that decision...
Your petty insults are so weak, dude. You have no idea. Like, I don't even understand if you hear yourself talking. Look, you can laugh all you want, but like I can't read a chart. Like it's so hacky. It's so uninteresting.
Look, the reason that we brought this up is because
that is
okay. First of all, let me just say, the news is not supposed to be like this. I'm laughing and I'm kikiing it up and I'm having a good time watching it, but this is not supposed to be what our news is like. And it's such an indication of American sickness that this is what we're watching as far as news. It's just people going back and forth and levying insults to one another. With that being said, now the guy just got upset at the very end yet again saying, you're throwing out petty insults to me and you're being condescending. Didn't you just not even 10 seconds ago say that they live at the tippy top of bullshit mountain? Oh my gosh, that one really came, that's honestly, it's a unique insult. I think he truly thought that one up himself, the tippy top of bullshit mountain. I'm going to keep that with me, deep within my core. I'm not going to use it because it sounds silly, but I'm going to keep that one with me. So interesting. And it is this failure to look internally. It's not the fault of the person I like. It's not the fault of the person that I would have voted for. It can't possibly be. I can't possibly look at something and say, you know what, that might have been a major mistake. And the 13 service members that died in that pullout of Afghanistan, that might have been a major mistake. The fact that we left the Taliban with billions of dollars in U.S. arms and weapons, that might have been a mistake. We left them helicopters. That might have been a mistake. I mean, we're hearing news now out of Afghanistan and from Taliban leaders. They have banned the sound of women being able to sing, vocalize, read in public. That's what exists on the other end of this. And you can't even look and say, maybe we didn't. Maybe we could have figured that out and done it a little bit smoother. And maybe we could have done it over, a significant, period of time. Maybe we could have just gradually, to make sure we just crossed our T's and dot our I's and didn't leave them with arms and weaponry and all this other stuff that they can now utilize against the people that they are reigning over. Maybe. At the very least, we should have gotten out of there without 13 service members dying. Maybe. But no, can't look internally, and instead says that they're being petty and insulting when he's done it the entire time. And of course, he shouldn't have given that insult of, oh, you probably can't read a chart. The facts were on his side. The temperament was already on his side. He was staying calm and cool and collected, and the guy was freaking out, which already just sort of wipes away any point you're making, even if it's a good one. But come on, man. Just be honest with yourself. We did get another super chat from Blue Eyes White 7, who says, thanks to you and Amir Odom, I have a better understanding of why one of my childhood friends went full trans. He's a victim of a system designed to victimize him. I'm grateful to you and Amir for showing me the political left is bad, not the people in it. Yeah, I mean, this really is a battle of ideas at the end of the day. And some people are susceptible to certain ideas. I myself was a leftist. Amir found himself also very moved by leftist ideology. And then one day you just realize, oh, wow, I might be on the wrong side of the things. In fact, I might be actually doing harm with these ideas. I mean, so we welcome that exploration, and we welcome people who believe those ideas to this show to listen. We welcome people who have changed their mind, people who haven't, whatever part of your journey that you're on. And even if you're not on a journey, if your mind never changes, you're welcome here to listen to things, and hopefully we help in some way, shape, or form, or at least give you an understanding of why people think differently. And shout out to Amir too. If you're not following Amir Odom, you should be. He makes fantastic videos. Now, we have more. Not learning the lesson. This next one is out of The View, and it features none other than Sunny Hostin, and she really loses the plot on this one.
And finally, we talk a lot about these different demographics and these assumptions of where they're going to go. Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border.
It's
the border
misogyny.
crisis is on their doorstep.
So
and they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some lessons.
That's what that was.
The lessons are not
Knock,
misogyny.
knock. Who's there? Oh my gosh, it's Whoopi.
It just makes you sigh. And I guess laugh. You laugh to keep from crying. that the point is just lost. They cannot arrive at it. To be given those numbers, 75% in a 97% Latino community voted for Trump, and to immediately shout misogyny is just, it really does, it just takes me back. I'm taken aback. I am taken aback by that answer. And so long as they keep talking about Latinos in this way, you're going to guarantee the Latino vote goes Republican every single time for every election going forward. I mean, how dare you just accuse them of misogyny and sexism rather than evaluating the valid concerns that they tried to come to your party with. They tried to say, wait a minute, I don't agree with what's happening here. I have people who are just ruining and terrorizing my community, who are utilizing my resources from a government that I'm paying into with every single paycheck that I receive. I'm a hardworking American, and I want you to do something about this. And they vote in their best interest, which is the candidate who is going to do something about the border, who is going to do something about illegal immigration. And you look them in the eye and you say that you're just misogynist. And that's the reason that you voted in the way you did. What a slap in the face. And it's an even harder slap in the face to the Latino community, to the Black community, as they're also having conversations like this about Black people. It's a harder slap in the face because this is a community that they have leaned on in every single election cycle. They were guaranteed the votes from this community in every single election cycle, virtually up until now. So the slap in the face must be even harder to hear them talk about you in this way once you decide to just change your mind and move in a different direction, in a direction that you feel like is going to help your family get groceries on the table and stop illegal migrants from entering your country. And there's a lot of leftists talking to Latinos and saying, you know, he's going to deport you. He's going to send you out of this country. It's like a fish voting for the fisherman. How racist is that statement? Do you think that all Latinos are in this country illegally? Do you think that they're all going to be deported because they crossed our southern border? Do you not think that these people are your fellow citizens, your fellow Americans? And I have to remind you guys, the people who are the most upset about illegal immigration are those who entered this country legally. And a lot of these people are just born here. They're actually Americans born here. And that's how they have their citizenship. And this is the sort of rhetoric that you're throwing out at them. I mean, I honestly have no words to miss the point that drastically and just shout misogyny when somebody is trying to explain to you and really give you a heads up on how you can be successful moving forward. But it's a defensiveness that Sunny Hostin has because she believes everything is an attack against her. The girl's literally just trying to tell you how you can win moving forward, what you can do to change the way you speak to voters and help them be on your side. And you refuse. You call them misogynists. If Latino voters are listening right now, especially the ones that voted for Kamala Harris in this last election, really hear what they're saying about those among you who decided to change their minds and vote in another direction. Because what they're saying about them, they're really saying about everyone. And we'll figure it out. Sunny Hostin goes on to talk more. Let's run this next clip.
I disagree. All right. I think that I'd like to reframe the conversation. I think Bernie Sanders is wrong. I think the more relevant question actually is what is wrong with America? I think what is wrong with our country that the Republican Party would choose as a candidate and support a candidate who is an insurrectionist, who is an election denier, who is someone who is twice impeached, a 34-time convicted felon, someone who has been accused of alleged sexual misconduct by 26 women, found liable for sexual abuse. What is wrong with this country that they would choose a message of divisiveness, of xenophobia, of racism, of misogyny over a message of inclusiveness?
They're literally being racist, misogynist in the way that they are talking about those that voted for Donald Trump. Oh my gosh, the call is coming from inside the house. I have to say that yet again, and she's not going to learn. She's just never going to learn. I think she's an ideologue. An ideologue is a person where when you ask them, what amount of evidence would I have to place in front of you for you to understand and see this from a different perspective? And they say, there's nothing you could show me. There's nothing you could show me that could change my mind on this. That's Sunny Hostin in a nutshell. She is a full-blown ideologue, and I hope that one day she recognizes where she is going wrong here. And I see a lot of Democrats saying there's got to be election fraud in this election. There's no way that people actually voted for him. They're saying there's 15 million votes that are missing from the Democrats. And what they're not accounting for is that still there's very many votes to be counted. Votes are still being counted to this very day. But even so, they know that Trump has won this election. And they're also not accounting for the Democrats that have left you. They left your ass to vote for Donald Trump. They jumped ship to vote for Donald Trump. And we can see it, in the likes of Tulsi Gabbard and Elon Musk and RFK, people who were very liberal and some of whom a part of the Democratic Party who decided, no, I'm gonna leave. The left no longer represents me. And it's not that I'm leaving the left, it's that the left is leaving me. And Sunny Hostin is ensuring that more people go down that journey and down that pathway. Another clip here, this is not out of the View. We're going to move to MSNBC, where they say Joe Rogan must have been a big part of this turn to fascism. And here's how the left can fix it.
Particularly the media ecosystem it's not a good one, it's a negative one, it's a radicalization funnel. But what they have done in their online media ecosystem is build a radicalization engine, literally the way militant groups do around the world, that takes people from relatively low-level annoyances with the world. Why are eggs so expensive? Why is my kid learning this new thing in American history in school that I didn't learn? And then moves them through YouTube videos, through podcasts, moves them from that annoyance all the way slowly to a full-blown fascist politics. It's an elaborate multi-billion-dollar infrastructure, and there is nothing like it on the pro-democracy side. We don't have when a man is just lost and lonely and not yet radicalized, we don't have the equivalent of Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson to move that man in a feminist direction. By the way, we should educate men that it's actually really great to live with a strong woman who makes money. It's actually easier. Life is easier.
But I think
I think he's onto something in that they really don't have that. They don't have that sort of personality or that message for young men. I do question whether or not they're capable of having that sort of messaging towards young men, given that a lot of the stuff that they believe about men in general sort of is antithetical to what Joe Rogan, the Jordan Petersons, what they have to offer to young men. If you are not particularly, proud, you don't have a particular respect for masculinity in itself, I don't know that you can appeal to men. And I think that's what's happened, is that there was sort of a vacuum in regard to young men. Nobody was really speaking to them. Nobody was elevating their issues or what they cared about, because we were living in this modern day feminist era where the future is female and it's all about women and women power. To be a woman is to be beautiful. And somebody came and filled that vacuum. And it does happen to be right-leaning individuals, although Joe Rogan has been on his own political journey. He was a Bernie Sanders supporter. So, how much can we call him that far right? I think he's moving over and recognizing the conservative message more and more as time goes on, and in his endorsement of Donald Trump. But it's just somebody who knows how to appeal to masculinity. I don't know that the left necessarily has that. I'm trying to think of who's watching. People are watching Hassan Piker and Destiny and Ethan Klein. I don't know. Well, they're there. They're leftist men, and they're speaking to, I would imagine, a large audience of males. I don't know what the demographic breakup is of their audiences, but they certainly exist. So there's that. We're going to watch one more clip. This is out of CNN. And this guy says now that Trump has won, Biden needs to come through and do something drastic. He needs to make a big change, and it involves Kamala Harris in the Supreme Court.
Liberal. And so I hope that Joe Biden makes the next 10 weeks as consequential as he can. I don't care about drawing outside the lines or what Republicans may think about it. This is within your purview. You can actually do it, and you should do it. And, one more thing, John, is you have a hell of a vice president right there who has a legal pedigree to sit on the Supreme Court and let Republicans go crazy and ape I'm even mentioning that option.
You floating? Are you floating? This is 7:39 a.m. on the East Coast. Did Bakari Sellers just float Vice President Kamala Harris as a potential Supreme Court nominee?
Not only am I floating it, but I want to stir up everything. I want people's heads to explode this morning, so we go into the weekend just knowing that the chaos has not ended just yet. Liberal, and so.
Bro, please. I mean, even the two guys on the panel with him are like, "Did you just say what I think you said?" I don't think her ass is going to be seen within a mile of the Supreme Court ever again. She might walk past it in the career that she enjoys after this presidential run, but I don't think we're going to see Kamala Harris on the Supreme Court. In fact, there's a lot of speculation that maybe the Bidens voted for Donald Trump. Have you guys seen this? Because Jill Biden sort of rolled out on the voting day, on election day, and she was wearing a bright red pantsuit, which us women know you're kind of trying to signal something. And Biden has spoken about the peaceful transfer of power after this election, and not a mention of Kamala Harris. He didn't even choose to utter her name within the lengthy speech that he gave in addressing the public. So I don't know that Biden is going to do this and put Kamala Harris on the Supreme Court, but it's a very interesting idea to close out our show on. We are going to get into your super chats. Homegirl has to pull them up today and read each one of them since Homeboy Taylor is not here, but hopefully we are smooth. Taylor is much better at reading your names. So if I mispronounced your name, I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance. Don't call me racist like they're calling Republicans for calling Kamala. If I mispronounce your name, I do apologize indeed. Our first one is from Lucas Duffy. He says, I'm so excited for his presidency as someone who's transgender. I'm ready to dispose of the woke stuff. Interesting. Like we said, there's a lot of LGBT people who are very much excited for Trump, and they're not crying right now thinking that they're going to lose their rights. The amount of people that I've seen really going crazy over this Trump thing and thinking they're not going to be able to exist anymore is wild. But you're going to be fine. If you're listening right now, everything's going to be fine. Michael Meeks sends a thumbs up. Michael Meeks, thank you so much. Alex Slusher says, greetings, Amala, Taylor, and chat. Happy Friday. I'm attending Twin Cities Con this weekend in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I have a great weekend, everyone. I'm glad you're having a little bit of fun out there. And I hope you enjoy your Twin Cities Con this weekend. Timothy W. says, soon you'll no longer have to be Amala alleged Nobi. For those of you who don't know, when we were talking about all the Diddy stuff and the Epstein and the allegations, I'm Amala allegedly Epinobi. Allegedly. I'm not trying to get my ass sued. Also, within 2 days, I have made over $80 in the stock market, a taste of sweet things to come. Yeah, there's been a lot of movement since we all figured out that Trump was going to be winning this election. So I'm happy to hear that you're making some money, hopefully more to come. Chaotic Good says, are you going to read the rest of the super chats on election day? One person making it seem like if you fly outside of the country, you won't come back and it would be like the Muslim ban. LOL. I haven't heard these rumors about flying out and having a ban of coming back into the country. Maybe we'll split up some of the election day super chats and sprinkle them into other shows. I'm not going to be capable of doing that today since you guys have sent so many. I did see one of you comment on the show and you're like, I sent a $30 super chat and it didn't get read. I apologize to you. And yeah, we will try to, moving forward, read as many super chats as we can. We just got so many people watching the show that it became very difficult to keep up with hundreds of super chats on that one. Kathy Williams says, I love you, but it's how the tables have turned. So I say, oh, how the turntables. It's actually a quote from The Office. Michael Scott says it. I'm a big Office fan, and of course he misspeaks all the time, and he says, oh, how the turntables. So if you ever hear me say that on the show, trust, I am not messing up the phrase. I am just Michael Scotting it. Johnny X1 says, love your videos, keep it real and stay beautiful. Keep it, make America great again. Thank you so much, Johnny. I appreciate it. Corey Willis says, I voted for Trump as a first-time voter. My friends voted for Kamala. What's upsetting me is that my friends say if you voted for Trump, that you're awful and should die. They don't know my vote. Love you, Amala. Yeah, I hear a lot of people are experiencing that these days. A lot of people have been posting on the internet, if you voted for Trump, you're dead to me. Meanwhile, their best friend or their brother or their aunt has voted for Trump. And I hope those people go on a journey and figure out that what they're doing is wrong. And they're going to miss these very valuable relationships that they have in their life over something ridiculous. And I hope they don't learn that lesson too late, because so many times people do. Mick Nevitz says, do you think this will have an impact overall on social media censorship? It better. It better. I think life on this platform is going to be so much better when Trump is president, and we got to make sure he follows through on that. And that's something that we need to hold them all accountable for and make sure that work is done. But yeah, I think that's one of the first things they're going to work on as an administration is what we have going on social media. Michael Meek says, appreciate your work and updates on your channel. Always updating, always changing and moving. R3, B3, Lnet says, as the parent of an 18-year-old son, I slept better the last couple of nights than I have in a long time. Anyone else? Yeah, it's interesting. I'm seeing people really freaking out and then people being like, oh, I can breathe. And I will breathe when he's inaugurated. That's what I'm waiting for. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying all the healthy changes that are taking place. Kirsten Irwin says, my husband and I are looking forward to being able to raise our daughter. She'll be born at the end of January. And he was so happy to finally feel her kick last night. We're overjoyed. Woo! We had a bell for that and a little chime. Congratulations. That's such a big thing. That is so amazing. Mr. and Mrs. Irwin, congratulations. Shock Therapy says, happy 47th. Also appreciate you, Amala and Taylor. Thank you so much. Appreciate you back. Thank you for your super chat and your support. Maggie Catherine says, a man looked me, a woman, dead in the eyes and said, you should be very scared because of Trump. He really tried to instill fear in a woman he didn't know. Yeah, people make a lot of assumptions these days about how you feel about politics. I know I give very leftist vibes if you look at me. It's understandable, you know, especially with the tattoos and everything and the black power fist that I have on my arm. Understandable assumption. But some people say some out-of-pocket stuff to me thinking that I'm going to agree with them. And it doesn't hit for me. Rachel Taylor, my best friend is a Dem. She's not taking it well. We are both still friends, but she feels betrayed by me. And I don't know how to tell her Donald Trump isn't going to ruin our country. She believes all the left lies. That's such a difficult thing to go through. Ugh. When you have a best friend too, you spend so much of your lives together. You've shared so many details with one another. You would think, you know, they would know you in a deeper sense to understand that even though you have different political opinions, it doesn't change the nature of your relationship. So I hope you guys make it through that and she starts to understand that. Just give it time. Maybe she'll need to just wait until Trump is president and experience that life and see how little things have really changed. And if they have changed, they've probably changed for the better. Maybe that's what she needs. Ralph D. YouTuber says, fellow Nigerian here, caught a CNN clip. Spotify, who is Susie Wiles? Okay, 2515, 3642, where Dems admit they had leaned too far left and they're fearing PC backlash. Like you said, love your show. Keep it up. Yeah, I'm seeing a few Democrats really, and maybe I need to make a separate video about it. The Democrats who are making the realization in tandem with talking about those who haven't, where they're saying, yeah, we went too far. We were worrying too much about pronouns and sex changes and race, and maybe we should have focused on what people were telling us to focus on because, damn, we really lost. We really lost. Basedwood Pigeon Lady says, one, congrats from the UK. My friends and I stayed up all night to watch the election pan out. My shift started soon after Trump's speech. I was late. I love it. You're invested in what's going on in our country. I imagine it does impact your country deeply. And all in all, maybe it's just entertaining to see what's going on in the US. I hear a lot of our international viewers are just blown away by the conversations we are having over here. So thank you for keeping up with us. Cynthia says, your content is stellar. You're a huge talent and such a cool person. Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching. Carlos Lima says, hey, Amala, thanks for being the voice of reason through the dark times. You kept me sane. Keep up the great work. It's so different when I have to read the compliments. Guys, please. You do not have to compliment me in super chats. Save your money. I appreciate you just for viewing the show and supporting in that way. But thank you so much. That is very sweet. Based Wood Pigeon Lady says, too, I've been so worried about the potential ramifications a Kamala Harris presidency could have on the whole world. Phew. Lots of love, Jessica. Yeah, me too, girl. I was worried about that. I was thinking, this cannot be good. We're going to be in a really tough time. I didn't even know if this channel would exist on the other end of a Kamala Harris presidency, because to be honest, I would not be surprised if she wiped every single person who disagrees with her off the internet. But here we are, and hopefully, here we are to stay. Dog Mama for Life says it was Megyn Kelly and Amala who opened my eyes to reality. I voted for the first time in my life this year, and I voted for common sense. Thank you very much, Megyn and Amala. And we got a first-time voter. You got a chime for that. Thank you for watching and being open to hearing another perspective. So many aren't. Amy Shelby says, keep on preaching common sense. We're going to try, Amy. We're going to try. Matthew Harrell says, I just want to say for the first time, hi, Amala, I appreciate you. I'm curious what it would take to make you put your trust in Jesus. I got to say, Matthew, with your biblical name, I don't see that happening anytime within the near or distant future. Let me try to think of an actual answer to your question as to what it would take for that to happen to me. Just evidence. I'm unconvinced by any of the arguments for the existence of the virtually the entire framework of all religions. So don't think that this is an attack on your religion specifically. I reject all of them. I just reject one more than you do, as Ricky Gervais would say. So that is my answer. I would just need some sort of convincing argument that's laced with evidence, and I've yet to hear one. And trust me, I've done the not necessarily searching, but I've done the listening. I've seen all of the debates, and I continuously listen to people who have different ideas on that. I also love, the four horsemen of new atheism, listen to them quite a bit. The Alex O'Connors, the Richard Dawkins, the Christopher Hitchens, who is by far my favorite. Shout out to Christopher Hitchens. Yeah. There we go. That's my answer to that. R3B3LNet says Vance Gabbard 2028, 2032. Gabbard DeSantis 2036, 2040. DeSantis Shapiro 2044, a dynasty. You guys are planning so far ahead. I don't know what's going on tomorrow, let alone 4 years from now. But I love that you have a vision. David Pledger says $2 for Amala, Trump impression. I'm assuming you're doing the Trump impression rather than me. I don't have a Trump impression, and I don't think I'd be good at doing one of those. Kaylin Likwai says, hi, Mamala. First time Trump voter this year. Chime. Proud, especially because of everything that's happened in the last 3 days. 8 years ago, I was crying and watching too much Hassan Abi, meaning, Hassan Piker, thinking we were going into the Hunger Games, cured my woke virus. Whew. I am happy to hear it. I'm happy to hear you saw something on the other end of what you were feeling, on the other end of the crying. That says we have awoken from a 4-year-long nightmare. God bless America. We have indeed awoken from a nightmare. Yes, we have. Noxious of Incarnate says, I think you're wonderful. I think that you're doing God's work. God bless America. Thank you. And Taylor, I appreciate your view on that. Jackie just sends a little emoji. Thank you, Jackie. Corey Andrew says, oh, the coconut tree. Y'all think y'all just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context. I love that quote. I love doing it. I will not stop doing it. Even when Kamala Harris has faded into obscurity, I will keep that coconut tree quote close to my heart. Okay. Minnesota Nice says, hey there, gang. So Amala, have you changed your opinion at all about Trump having God's hand over him? I mean, just think about everything he's been through. I have not changed my mind on that at all. And I have to say, the implications of that statement are not great. And I say this every time. If you think that God played a role in saving Trump on that day that he was nearly assassinated, what did you think about the person who got murdered? Somebody was literally murked. So I don't know. It doesn't hold water for me. Diva Dawn says, 1, if Iran took out Trump, JD would turn them into a sandbox. 2, government crazies better behave. Trump loves to fire folks. 3, have a fabulous weekend. Diva Dawn, yeah, let's hope not. Let's hope Iran does not do anything to Donald Trump, and that JD doesn't have to assume that position and make these wild decisions. And yeah, the government crazies better behave indeed. Katie New says, the hypocrisy of the hate from friends and strangers alike who have claimed to be a part of the party of love and acceptance has been shocking. Only time will show they're on the wrong side of history. Yeah, it's been really sad to hear. I've watched so many people go through a lot of hurt on the other end of this, and so many people still are being very quiet about who they voted for because they don't want to take on the heat that they're going to get and just create this fight over virtually, it's really a fight over nothing at the end of the day. Isaiah Densmore says, my sister was posting to women and LGBTQ plus people that their rights were about to be taken away. I tried to tell her everything would be fine, and she called me an oblivious white male and blocked me everywhere. These stories make me so sad, guys. These make me so sad for you. That's your sister. It's your blood. That's really unfortunate. I hope she comes around. Yeah, I mean, that's so tough. And, a lot of these people just really want to hit you where it hurts. And that's why they're acting in these really rash ways. I hope things get better for you, Isaiah. The Nicodemus 1984 says, good evening. Trump already knows social media and would take every chance to attack him. Nothing to bother him, I think. He already knows the song from his last presidency, and he's ready. Cheers. I'm a little confused by what you're saying, but I think you're saying that he's gained a lot of knowledge in his last term and is going to utilize this in his last term and is going to go after social media full force and clean things up. And if that's what you're saying, I totally agree. The Golden Host says, how do you cope with family you love and used to respect calling you a terrible person? I don't care about these idiots online, but when it's someone you know and see regularly, it's very hard. Okay. My advice to you, and I've been through this not to the same extent as some of you are describing in your super chats down below. This is going to be par for the course, unfortunately, with everything that's going on right now. But just maintain a sense of integrity to yourself and the feeling of love that you have for those around you, even when they are lashing out at you. Because if we truly believe the things that we say, these are individuals that have been misled by information that they've gotten, and they're now lashing out because of that information. And you shouldn't feel anger towards those people necessarily. It's more of a feeling of pity and a hope that they come around. So in the meantime, how would you treat somebody that you have those feelings towards? You would still show them love and show them calmness and tell them, I'm here whenever it is that you are ready to talk. Because no matter what happens, you remain on the good side of whatever conflict has then been created, and hopefully they come around. And if they don't, you've maintained a sense of integrity and you've handled them with care and love and respect, as you would hope anybody would when you're friends and family with them. So that's my advice. As far as dealing with the feelings that you have of abandonment and being called a terrible person, just know that it's not true. And that this person is lashing out from a place that really has nothing to do with you, although they're making it something about you. Minnesota Nice says, so I found a major red flag with someone I've been talking to for months. She lied several different times about smoking. Would you guys forgive it? I don't know the inner workings of what you are going through, so I can't necessarily tell you flat out how I would deal with this. It's not even necessarily for me that the smoking would be the major issue. It's the lying. If somebody feels comfortable lying to you and you've been talking to them for a few months now, it's not a good sign for other things that may pop up in your relationship. And that was what I would say to them, really. You could have been forthright about the fact that you smoke or whatever lie she's telling about that. It's the lying that's more problematic than everything. Because if somebody's lying to you now, after you're months into a relationship, what are they going to do later? Not good. Not good. Okay, Al Salazar says, keep up the good work. Thank you, Al. Appreciate it. Next one. R3B3 Lnet says, that dude pees sitting down. What's wrong with peeing sitting down, guys? What if it's just more comfortable? Nothing wrong with peeing sitting down. As somebody who pees sitting down, there's nothing wrong with peeing sitting down. X says, realized I was a conservative and Republican long ago. Some of my family thought I was whitewashed. Now they're turning Republican and they voted for Trump. Makes me laugh. You know, at the end of the day, it's these little things that just make us feel good. After all the despair you got from being called whitewashed and people hating on you, at least they came around and you can be the bigger person and just have a little giggle about it internally. Next one, Veronique Escalante. Did I say that right? I'm so glad to finally catch a live. This is sad about these people dropping others for this election. My family is fighting from this. I love you. Gosh, all the fighting, guys. This seems to be the through line of the Super Chats today, that you guys are dealing with a lot of fighting. Just maintain your sense of self and maintain a calm temperament. You know, no matter what happens in the fights that you have with family, no matter how many people try to give a dig at you or whatever, you're going to be so grateful if you just stayed calm and didn't engage in a way that made things worse, no matter what they say. So hope that helps. My view sends a super chat, no message. Thank you. Haley Smith says the blonde guy simultaneously thinks we're so dumb we can't type a coherent sentence, but also that we choose misinformation. Literally insane. Keep up the excellent work, Amala. Yeah, he contradicted himself many times throughout that lengthy message he gave to us. And hopefully he figures that out. Randy Holcomb says, love your content. Thank you, Randy. My View says, I really like your content. Thank you, My View. Appreciate it. I'm glad you guys are loving what we're putting out this time of year. Fudge the Pudge says, as a Canadian who has gone through a decade of insane leftist rule, Republicans winning in a landslide gives me so much hope for our next election. Yeah, these people are being booted out. And I hear from a lot of our Canadian followers, our Canadian fans and friends, that you guys are dealing with a lot, if not more, than what we're experiencing here. And of course, we witnessed that in the news that we've seen from Canada with the convoy and the gender stuff and how they feel about freedom of speech over there. It's got to be tough. So much love to the Canadians who are watching right now, and hopefully you guys can change things up like we have here. Rainy Thoughts said, I had a friend the other night call me every name in the book, all because I said everything's fine and women's rights aren't being touched. You were nice. Yeah, you said I was nice. Sorry. Yeah. That's what's going to be what's happening right now. There's a sort of a mass hysteria that's taking place right now. Just maintain your niceness. Keep being nice. And they'll come to find out that everything is literally going to be fine. So there's that. Oliver Morgan says, pray for our president. He's enemy number one. No one knows what the established power will do in their desperation. That's for damn sure. We're going to see a lot of different things pulled out in an attempt to thwart his plans and what he intends for his administration. Paper Ninja says, hey, first time being here live. So glad things are starting to change in the U.S. Aren't we all? Can't wait to see what happens from here. Banished Mom, my adult daughter disowned, blocked, and went full no contact with me and all Trump voters. I hope she changes her mind, but my heart is broken. Guys, you're going to make me cry with these super chats. It's so difficult to read, let alone you guys experiencing it. Yeah. I think there's going to be so much of this, and I hope these people just soften with time. As I said, with this news happening, I think a lot of people are running full force into their first sort of visceral reaction to what they're hearing, and that is the blocking and the screaming and the freaking out and the going no contact with people. But all you can hope is that they realize and just be there for them as a mother when they need it, and respect their call for being no contact. One of the worst thing you can do, I think, when somebody is this emotional and really trying to push you your way is try to like force yourself into this space. Not saying you shouldn't try to like check in here and there, but don't try to like forcefully push them to do something that they're clearly kind of telling you that they don't want right now. But be there when they need their mom, because we all need our moms. We all need our moms, whether your daughter wants to admit it or not. She needs her mom. Kimberly says, liberal friend before the vote count, be kind to each other, heart. Her after the count. All you brown people, Latinos, are going to be deported, and how dare you vote against your interests, and you're all just browns to Republicans. Yeah, we've heard a lot of that. You're all just N-words and browns and illegal immigrants to these people. Like, dude, oof, your racism is showing. Cover up, cover up. Bishop Frank D.R. Newkirk says, this kingdom Avadal watchmen stand in agreement. I don't know what that means, but thank you for your super chat. Joshua Lundquist says, good afternoon, Amala. How long have the Ghibli posters been gone? Also stationed at Fort Bliss, registered to vote. What is this? In New Mexico, because I knew Texas would win anyways. Also, love the all-inclusive theater idea. Don't we need that? If I had the funds to create a theater that actually is inclusive of all ideologies, I would be doing that. Maybe it's something that I need to work on the other end of all this. The Studio Ghibli posters have been gone for a really long time, guys. I'm sorry. I have one in my garage. Maybe I need to bust it out and put it on the wall back there, because I gotta rep my boy Hayao Miyazaki. Tilly D says, I have kids who love theater and we are struggling. I cannot discuss anything with the other parents at our kids' theater because they are so openly calling my beliefs literally Hitler. I think we've identified a new problem. Nobody's really spoken to this, and it's something that I felt for so long that, we're talking about Hollywood. We're talking about the music industry. We're talking about like how we're dealing with this in all of our different communities. Nobody's talking about how bad it is within theater and musical theater. It is awful. Awful. And I know this as a kid who was in community theater, and I experienced how awful it was, even when I was a leftist, to think things that might be dissident to what was going on at the time. And only in my adulthood, it's only been more highlighted how bad it is. Maybe I need to start my own theater. You guys are giving me ideas that I don't have the funds for. So we're gonna have to figure it out, because I do want to make a place where musical theater enjoyers are really welcome from all different sides of the aisle, because it so sucks. And theater is such a beautiful artistic experience. And for those of you who haven't gotten into theater, I urge you to try to go to a show and see what happens. It's such a unique format. It's so disappointing to feel excluded from certain forms of art. Sinnerman says, now on to saving the gaming scene, please. Get the woke out. Yeah, I guess the Gamerskate stuff. Yeah, the gaming scene needs to be changed. We'll hope that happens. Mary Panasuix says, hey, I've been following the channel for a while, but just catching the end of Alive for the first time. Love from Vegas. Love back to you from LA. Envy says, boy is stammering over his words and trying to talk crap, LOL. I don't even know which of the leftists you're talking about at this point, but yes. But yes. Kennedy says, I came out to my Insta followers as a Trump supporter and lost over 100 followers because of it, which I don't mind. I also got messages asking how I can support a grapist, fascist, and racist like BFFR. Yeah, I hope you got some supportive messages mixed in with those, and people reaching out to you to say that they are on your side of that, or at least they understand where you stand. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people decide, I'm going to actually say it online. I'm going to say how I feel, and boom, the followers just go and go and go. People are it's just so immature. It's all so immature. Danny Nightblade 45 says, The Dawn brought together J.D. Vance, Vivek Ramaswamy, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., and Elon Musk. President Trump is a uniter, not a divider. Yep. And I think we're going to just see that be proven time and time again as time goes on. Stephen Drennan says, had to get one in before you were done. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for supporting what I do. Famery says, as a woman who just got out of the Air Force. Okay, as a woman who just got out of the Air Force. My husband and I were there in the summer of 2020. It was supposed to be a slow withdrawal, and Biden did not follow what Trump planned for him perfectly. We still fume. Yeah, that's a major thing. A lot of people on the left were like, oh, this was Trump's plan all along. Biden just implemented it. Biden just followed through on it. So if you really want to blame somebody, blame Trump. No, correct me if I'm wrong, Trump's plan was going to take like months. It was very much a gradual step-by-step pullout of Afghanistan. And then Biden was just like, okay, let's let her rip. And we all see how that turned out. Conspiracy of everything says the moment I woke up from Trump derangement syndrome was when I realized he did condemn white supremacists marching in North Carolina, and all leftist mainstream media edited that out of his initial response to make it seem like he didn't. Yeah, that'll open your eyes real quick. That was the very fine people on both sides quote that people ran with, and that's now been fact-checked to hell, that he did not, in fact, mean it in the way it was being characterized, and that he did in fact, condemn white supremacists. So I'm glad that you were able to come to that conclusion without the help of mainstream media. Sinnerman says, sorry to hijack through Super Chat, but we need the energy to transfer to entertainment platforms like gaming, TV, and more. Get the woke out. I don't want to hear it from blue city people. Majority want. Yeah, there's so many other industries that need this to happen. We spoke about musical theater today. You spoke about gaming in your super chats. There's many more places and industries and facets of our society that need this new energy. Dale says, I really hope that the left sticks with calling everyone who disagrees with them bigots, fascists, etc. It's great for our side. Yeah, they're opening the floodgates, essentially, with this sort of things that they're saying to people on the other end of this Trump win. The Jim says, I actively remind myself not to hate these people. Like mold, you have to guard against it or it will grow and poison the very air. But we don't hate mold for its nature, just remove it and move on. Yeah, again, this is a battle of ideas. It's not necessarily the people, although these ideas manifest in people. So we have to always bear that in mind. Vladicus says, I doubt Trump's pro-minorities, but he's pro-strength. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it means to be pro-minority. I don't know if that's a particularly helpful thing to be. You should just be sort of pro-American, pro-good people, and that will carry you through whatever you face. Kaylin Leaquai says, Sonny chose messages of division over inclusivity, but goes on to let Sarah explain a realistic introspection of Democrats. LOL. Yeah, Sunny has lost the plot. Sunny's bye. She's floated away. She's gone. We hope to have her back when she can realize her wrongdoing, but she hasn't yet. Envy says the left constantly brings up identity politics, specifically women of color. Yet after Trump won, the ones crying on TikTok are all liberal white women. Yeah. I mean, when we look at the exit polling and the demographics that have voted for Donald Trump, I think the only demographic where he didn't really gain points is among young white, college-educated women and maybe black women. So maybe those two groups. And instead of blaming other people and screaming at them and calling them fascists and Hitler and all this stuff, maybe you need to look at you and your group and think, why weren't we on the same page as literally everybody else in the United States? It could be something there. You got to flip the stone, though. Patricia Pericone just sends a little emoji, no message. Ran Vic Hadias says, first time super chat, boom. Would I be a theater nerd if I was in technical theater in high school so many years ago? I couldn't act, but I loved building sets, lights, sound. Yes. You can be a theater nerd, and being on the tech end of theater is a very necessary, pivotal role. Without tech, you have no show. So you definitely can qualify as a theater nerd. You're just hanging out behind the scenes, which we love and we need. Hayden Dawson says, correct me if I'm wrong, Sunny is a person that's been blinded by upper class life. She does not understand the struggles of the working class. No, she don't. She don't understand the struggles of virtually anybody because this is the way she's speaking about the people who voted for Donald Trump. She is lost. She's lost. JWild80X says, Amala, I love you, but never use that beta male Hassan Piker and masculinity in the same sentence ever again. Come on. Come on. Not even a little masculine Hassan Piker, you don't think? Let me know in the chat down below. I have a feeling you guys are not going to support that. Oaxaca, Los Angeles says, hey, Amala, happy Friday. This proliferation of anger, hate, disdain, violence, and vitriolic verbal attack, isn't it the same they accused Trump of? Sort of feels like it. Sort of the pot calling the kettle black. It if I say so myself. I Can Prep Too says, thanks for sharing your voice, Amala. Know it made a difference to America and is helping to make the difference in society. I hope if even one person was like, hey, which you guys have said in the super chats, one of you was like, hey, I voted for Donald Trump because I've seen some of your content. Done my job. I've done my job. I can bow out. Thank you guys so much. Alexis Smith sends a super chat, no message. Thank you so much, Alexis. Brittany Campanello says, a classmate talked about the Department of Education ending, having trouble finding unbiased of what the negatives of this would be. Thoughts? Love the show. Yeah, I mean, the most that I've really seen about this is that with the Department of Education, they kind of just want to move a lot of this responsibility to each individual state. Now, I've heard people complain that like states will have then there will be 50 different curriculums, and as if there's going to be like no communication amongst the different states and departments that they create within these states. I find that a little hard to believe. I don't think you can just be able to run willy-nilly with your education now that it is down to the state level. And, you know, my stance on it. I think the federal government should do a few things and a few things very well. And right now the federal government is doing far more than it should be. Danny sends a super chat, no message. Thank you, Danny. CC007 says, it seems they are purposefully appealing to the mentally ill and unhinged in this country to further push their cult-like ideology. Hold tight, because all signals are they will continue to beat the same drum. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have to think about this. Mentally ill and unhinged. I think it's just a side effect of the ideas. If you truly believe these things, you probably would be a little bit unhinged. If you think Hitler is the president of the United States, the 47th president of the United States, then yeah, you'd be a little bit unhinged. But yeah, it does seem like they're going to be beating the same drum, and that's unfortunate for them. Shock Therapy says, happy 47th. Oh, I read this one. Sorry. Alexis Smith says, I'm a trans woman and voted for Trump. I'm sick of people saying I'm going to lose my rights when, as an adult, I'm fine. We need to keep children from getting sex changes. I've gotten death threats from my own community. Yeah, turns out we're not that much of a community, are we? It doesn't seem like people are really trying to have a community with any of this. But yeah, I appreciate and admire that you are a trans person who is trying to safeguard children from being able to get these sex changes. And I think there are many more where you came from. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for doing what you did. We got to read this from Andreas. Hi, Amala, missed you. Love that Trump has won. I hope one day to escape Uruguay that is drowning in socialism and even hard communism. People here does not understand how the world and money works. They believe the evil CEOs keep all the money on the basement just to be evil. I think I'm understanding what you're saying, and I do hope that you are able to escape an ideology that doesn't seem to be bringing out positive outcomes for anybody that has ever been subjected to it. And hopefully what's happened here in America is something that just sort of ripples out to the rest of the world. Ben says, I love that the Amish even voted. Yeah, the Amish came through in Pennsylvania. Shout out Scott Presler for recognizing that this was a group of people that needed to be spoken to. And they really showed up. They registered and they went to the polls. Abby says, can we do a Pokemon trade with all the American-hating citizens we have here? I just don't get the hysteria. Let's love our country again. They'll come around, I think. They'll come around. Christopher Miner says, did not care about politics until I saw all the hate at Trump. Then on iFunny, I saw them fact-checking the media, so I decided that the media probably was in the wrong, and I'm happy that he is our 47th president of the United States. Aren't we all? We got to continue fact-checking the media, because I'm sure they're going to go and attack him for years to come. Danny Dalpia says, Amala, patriots like you gave me the confidence and tools to confront my family, friends, and neighbors about core issues. Thank you for your work. And yeah, I think it's good to have these discussions with people who are around you, your family, your friends, your neighbors. It doesn't have to be, super confrontational, and it doesn't have to be, a contentious back and forth. But I'm glad that you've gained the confidence in watching these videos to talk to them and be open about how you feel. Because shouldn't we all, if we have to hide these parts of ourselves, how much are we truly living? Blockbuster says the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. Does that mean you can pay for coffee? You can pay for coffee now. I don't think it's changed that quickly. But I used to love the Folgers jingle, the theme song. if you will. When I was a kid, I used to sing that all the time. I know I irritated my family, because why am I just singing the jingle of a random corporation? Lucas Duffy says, I don't know if you saw my previous super, but I'm trans and I hate associating myself with these Delulu people. I absolutely love you and Brett. Thank you so much, Lucas. I did see that. And you know what? I'm super glad that, you know, even with your identity, you don't feel the need to just toe the line of everything that this supposed group is supposed to think. Rainbow Tribe says, my friend's 10-year-old daughter came home crying after being bullied in school for supporting Trump. It's so unfortunate. It's crazy to me to even think that 10-year-olds are having these conversations in the first place. To me, it's just like, you're not old enough. And of course, it still happens. Kids have their political leanings, and it largely comes from their parents. But my goodness, to be bullied in school for liking Trump at 10 years old, it's such a waste of childhood and such a needless experience. And it's very sad to hear. Danny says, hi, I love your videos. You're amazing. Thank you. I voted for Trumpers, but my family still doesn't agree with me. Why can't people just respect others' opinions? Girl, if I knew, I would tell you. Why can't people just respect other people's opinions? It's an uphill battle. V says, did you cover the Dr. Phil speech at Madison Square? No, but we've done other videos on Dr. Phil, and we knew where Dr. Phil was. I've actually been on 2 Dr. Phil episodes, and I was so happy that he was going to be talking about the issues that we spoke about on his show. So I knew what Dr. Phil's been up to. Marjorie Red sends a super chat, no message. Thank you, Marjorie. Alice Ayers says, Amala, you should watch Heretic. It's in theaters now. Hope people on the right are willing to help bridge the gap and not just roast liberals freaking out. Is that the movie with, what's his name? He has a really bad rep in Hollywood for being rude. And he was in Love Actually. What is Heretic movie? What's his name? Oh my gosh, why can't I just find it? Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant is what it is. I do want to watch that film. I'm not a big fan of like scary movies or thrillers or anything like that, but it does really look good. And I think it's going to be just an interesting concept to have in a movie. So maybe I will. First, I need to see Anora. Everybody's telling me I need to see Anora. I've been hitting up the movies. I love going to the movies. I'll just go by myself and chill. Sam sends a super chat, no message. Thank you, Sam. Carly Jakubowski. Love that last name, if I even said it correctly. My college roommates and I were sharing our hopes and dreams with each other on election night. There is now a lot of hope here at my college. Love it. Okay, good. That's a good super chat. You guys have shared values. You can actually talk about these things. Marjorie Red says, we never know when our hearts will open up for the Lord. I will say, I felt the same as you do. You are such a beautiful person. It will happen someday. Marjorie, I don't think so, but I'm glad that you view that as a positive thing and you wish that positive thing on me. I think we just have different opinions on the matter. Fat Tested Travel, Jason, says, gay man commenting from the gulag Trump sent me to. I hope all is well on the outside. The decor is fabulous here and the guards are gorgeous. Oh, that wins best super chat of the day by far, by a mile. Thank you so much, Jason. That is hilarious. I love when we can approach things with humor and you win that. Wemby can tell it's nearing the end of the show. Here he is on his howling. We're going to try to talk through it. And he'll go for a walk after this. Dallas says, hi, Amala. I'm seeing Nick Fuentes pop up a lot with his gross your body my rules message. Do you have any insight on who exactly this person is? Oh, my nose is itchy. On who exactly Nick Fuentes is? I've only heard about Nick Fuentes from clips that I've seen on the internet. That's about it. That's all I've seen from Nick Fuentes. And it's almost always him saying something ridiculous and that I wholeheartedly disagree with. And I don't know how. He's pretty well known, I guess, for being pretty radical in his opinions. That's all I know about Nick Fuentes. But his whole my body, your rules thing that I've seen, and it's a rant that's now going viral on TikTok, is stupid. Just simple as that. And now women are running with it, saying like this is a clear depiction of the right, and they really want to be rapists and misogynists. So that's unfortunate that he's giving them that ammunition. But mind you, Fuentes actively said he was not going to be voting for Donald Trump, campaigned against Donald Trump. So just leave him out of the conversation. He's clearly ridiculous. Elizabeth Davis says, I am a Democrat who is coming back to the LDS church. Through prayer and study, I decided to vote for Trump, and I'm glad I did. Yeah, you know, however you get there, Elizabeth, I appreciate your vote for Donald Trump, and I'm glad you got there. Cassie Ellis says, ask God a question. Sometimes the only convincing evidence is when God himself answers you. The issue is, Cassie, you can answer a question in a million different ways, and how are you to know that God did that? But we're not going to start. We're not going to start a theological debate on this channel. Although I love that type of shit. I love that type of shit. We can go bar for bar on that all day, but it's just not what my channel is for. And I don't think it's a particularly uniting message. And I'd rather talk about issues that I deem to be more important for the life that I am leading. Ashlyn Jade said, I was introduced to you over a year ago after a desperate search for a middle ground. Thank you. I got my head out of the clouds and feet on the ground. Emotional logic is not sound logic. Yeah, sometimes you have to remove your emotions a little bit and feel them, yes, and then think about why did I feel those things? And sometimes your feelings and emotions are not pointing you in the direction of rationality and logic, and you can actually separate yourself from them and understand everything a bit more and yourself a bit more and why you feel things. Texas Mom says it will be interesting in 4 years to have conversations with progressives when Trump turns around the economy, strengthens democracy by allowing free speech, and peace is the norm. Will be interesting. We're going to see. We got to make sure it happens. Over Easy Egg says, hey, y'all, late to the live today. Did you see the plantation text? Do you think they are coming from the far right or from leftists pretending to be on the right and creating a false narrative? I did see them. After Trump won, a lot of people were getting messages that said, like, you're going to be picking cotton and we're going to come pick you up to pick cotton and be a slave or whatever. I don't think they came from the right. I'm going to be honest. And if they did, they came from like a Nick Fuentes type troll who is just getting off on doing things like that. But I'm very unconvinced. I think it's a lot more convenient for other sides of the aisle that those messages go out than it is for the political right. Ivan Teslenko, cool name, says, greetings from Ukraine. Been watching the election, hope that Trump will put an end on recent wars instead of fueling them like Democrats did all these years. Keep up the great work. Love your content. Yeah, I hope so. And he says that that's his goal, that he does want to end these wars that are going on. And he says, never would have started if it was me. Why do I sound like a mafia boss? I don't know. That's my Trump impression. But yeah, hopefully he does. Wumpy says, in my friend group, we're pretty divided 50-50, but once Trump won, somebody added the YMCA song to the Discord server, LOL. We have been spamming it ever since. I'm glad that your 50-50 friend group can still get along and have a little bit of a laugh. Joshua McVeigh says, first-time commenter and super chatter, discovered your channel when you were still at Prager. You're very smart, logical, and your arguments are very cogent. Oh my gosh, that's a cool word. I'm going to add that word in my vocabulary. Love your content. Omri Unfiltered also. Hey, shout out the second channel. I have a second channel with my best friend Risa titled Omri Unfiltered. You guys can check that out. We put out videos every now and then. Doc Anastasia says the EU just announced they will cease buying oil from Russia and from the US only. Heard it, played it, had to talk about it on the show. Very, very big news in our move towards energy independence. Over Easy Egg says, by the way, I was the one who left that comment about the super chat. It felt so rude about it. I saw the chaos, LOL. Just know y'all make my day every live show. Over Easy Egg, I appreciate that. And we're sorry that we didn't get to your super chat. And I'm glad that we got to your super chats today. Sometimes things just get crazy out of nowhere on this channel, and unexpectedly so. Gary Blart says, talk about Democrats calling the election rigged. We knew the election fraud moments were going to happen. Megyn Kelly even called it on Bill Maher, and Bill Maher said, no, it's not. We're not going to do that. And here we are, and they're talking about election fraud. Mike James says, what is concerning is how they got to a place this dark in the first place. We are missing something major for them to get this far down that hole. I think you're talking about in response to Trump winning. Yeah, it's been wild to watch. Hopefully we can alleviate that for them with time. Evil Black says, fun historical fact, the Republican Party started as the anti-slavery party. Some of us are proud of that. Yeah, we should all be proud of that. That is a fact indeed. And it's a fact that a lot of people don't want to talk about, or they say the party's switched. Okay. Lazarus Hand says, how happy does Biden look, LOL? Doesn't he? He's walking around, he's swagging around, he's talking totally coherently, which is, I have so many questions about that. Biden's little last speech, little talk that he gave, he sounds totally normal, tip-top shape, smiling ear to ear. I don't know what's going on with that, but we'll leave it. Real Black Terry says, what do you think about Trump ending birthright citizenship? I've seen a few things about that. I don't know how I feel about it. I'd have to do a deep dive into how many people are taking advantage of birthright citizenship and do a little bit of investigation in comparison to other countries before I give you my definitive opinion on that. So I will hold off on giving my thoughts. Dan Miller says, thank you for being fact-based voice of reason. I send my to yours and Brett Cooper videos. I think you're saying you send people Brett Cooper videos and my videos. I appreciate that. Much love and peace to us all. I love your opinions so often. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you love my opinions, and I'm glad that they resonate with you. Jamestown Villa says, you the best. See you next time, Tay. Thank you. Thank you, Jamestown Villa. I'm going to refresh here and get to the rest of your messages. Kane Baker says, hey, Amala and Taylor, congrats on the new president. I will have to rewatch the live stream from the start, but wanted to say that you two are legends. Thank you so much. Over Easy Egg says, oh yeah, last thing, LMAO. One of my questions last show was, will you ever have merch? I've been waiting so long. One of these days, I need to make it. It's my own procrastination. That is why we don't have merch on this channel, because you can literally blame me for that. You can blame me for that. Legitly Spelunking says, cleaning my house as I catch your show, hoping lefties watching the Dems eat their own after the election will cause some awakenings. Canada next, please. Yup. I think it will. I think it will cause some awakenings, and I do think Canada is next. Lori Fish says, Amala, I love you, and I'm so glad me and my 18-year-old daughter have you in common. That's so sweet. I'm great. Wait, what does it say? I'm great. She has someone. Oh, I'm grateful. Sorry, there was a little bit of typo. I'm grateful she has someone like you to look up to. That is so sweet. Thank you to you and your daughter for watching, and I'm glad that it can be a family affair. Daisy Cruz says, my first super chat. Boom. I lost 2 friends last night because I voted for Trump. That feels awful after the chime, doesn't it? Daisy, I'm not laughing at your plight. Give me a moment to collect myself. Okay, I lost 2 friends last night because I voted for Trump. I need advice on how to cope. Oof, okay, let me think about this and give the emotional side of my advice, but also the logical side of my advice. I'm going to start off with the logical side of my advice. If 2 friends are willing to drop you because you voted for somebody that they dislike, that means that your values are not vibing with one another, and there's a part of you that they don't know. And now that they know that part of you, they no longer want to be friends, then they're not really your friends to begin with. That's really the hard truth of it. They were not well invested, deeply held friendships, and they might have been on your part, but it's unfortunate that they weren't on theirs. So I think once you get some time removed from this incident and removed from like the fresh cut of having these friends taken from you, you'll realize that, oh, I can accumulate better friendships and people who like me for who I actually am. In the meantime, I would say surround yourself with those that you know you have that connection with, whether it's like family or building new friends or going out and trying to meet new people. And see what it's like to have people genuinely accept you and genuinely give you love and support. And that will help cushion the blow of these 2 friends leaving you. Greg says, I wonder if the Democrats will ever find out that demonizing Trump just drives more voters to Trump. Probably not. Some of them will. Some of them will, and some of them are. So that's good. Fishman says, as a theater kid, are you excited for Wicked? I'm not. For multiple reasons. Okay, Wicked is one of the musicals that I'll just be 10 toes down honest with you, I don't really enjoy the musical Wicked. I don't know that it's the best written storyline or musical that I've heard. It's definitely not even in my top 10 as far as a musical. Also, the personalities of Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande just really get to me. And I'm like, you're playing Glinda the Good Witch, please. Please, Glinda the Good Witch my ass. So I don't know that I'm excited for Wicked. Will I still watch it? Maybe after it's out of theaters. And we'll go and check out Wicked. The Ultimate Truth Teller says, been watching you since the trans versus conservative debate. You and Blair are huge contributors to my free thinking journey. You voted Republican for the first time. Boom. Just wanted to say thank you. No, thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being open. I greatly appreciate that. And with that, guys, that was our last super chat. What a fun note to leave out on. In general, I hope for you guys all the best in whatever befalls you after all this stuff is happening. Although it's been a great week for our values and the proliferation of those values and for changes within the U.S., it seems like it's not been a great week for a lot of your guys' relationships and the loss of relationships, the fighting within families and friendships. That is not easy to deal with for anyone. We are human beings and we are beings of community. We like to know one another. We like to support one another. And when you feel that lack of support, it's really very difficult. But hopefully in being on this show and listening to this show, maybe you can meet people and build these new communities. Maybe I have to figure out how to get y'all making friends with one another and meeting in person. Because if you're losing friendships, damn, we got to do something about that. So hopefully this gives you a small sense of like a like-mindedness. I see you guys saying, I love you, Wemby. Wemby really wants to go. Wemby really wants to go outside, so that's why I gotta close out right now. Solomon Landscaping says Amala is a beacon of positive energy, beautiful inside and out. Love this girl. Thank you so much, Solomon. That's so very sweet. Yeah, I wish you guys the best. Lean on the people who do support you and who do know you and who have a sense of love for you, no matter what it is that you believe politically. And if you don't have that in your personal life right now, you have it here. I know it doesn't mean much. It's like a parasocial screen-based thing that's going on right now, but I just want to let you know that you are not alone in that, and I think it's been made clear you're certainly not alone if you've listened to some of the super chats and messages that we've read on today's show. I hope things get better. I hope people come around. I hope they wake up, and only time will tell. So we're going to be positive in the meantime, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time we're live. That's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, plus 8 p.m. Universal. And we have videos coming out every day. Tomorrow's video is about the 4B movement that apparently a lot of American women are signing up now because Donald Trump is president. They're not having sex with men. They're not dating men. They're not marrying them. And they're not giving birth to children anymore, apparently. So they claim. We'll talk about that, analyze it, see if it's worth anything, if it has merit, and go from there. So keep an eye out and drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.